Good to see you, boy.
Good to see you. When you want to end your own life, it's because you have no faith left. You think that the world's against you, you think the world's collapsed on you, and that there's nothing left to save you. Money, success, fame, being sought after, really those are probably the most unfulfilling things. We were ambushed from 3 different directions. I was pinned under heavy fire, and that day changed my life forever. Man, I was partying in college, not really going anywhere. I was going to be an engineer, and I always had an interest to join the military. And once I realized that my life was not going where I wanted it to go in college, I was like, I need to take Plan B. And I was so quick about it. Like I went to a recruiter's office and I was gone in like a month. Like my friends and my family were like, what happened to Nathan? I went from being in the chair force, sitting in a chair, writing contracts, to I was like, man, this ain't doing it for me. I couldn't switch over to the Navy, so I did what was an option for me, and that was I joined Special Warfare and became a TAC P, dropping bombs on bad guys in the Air Force. It's one of the only combat jobs in the Air Force. So like I was just looking for that next edge all the time to constantly better myself. It was just a continued method, continued pursuit of growth. I learned that at 19 in the military, and it's carried with me my entire life. Just kind of like never settling. I'm grateful for everything that I have, but I still want to be a better man. I still want to be a better businessman. I still want to be a more successful businessman. I still want to be a better father. And so those two things, while they seem in contrast, it's important to be working on both. Peace in my heart, but also trying to be better every day. Went on a mission and was told that we had a good chance of meeting opposition. We flew in, and that day changed my life forever. We were ambushed from 3 different directions. I was pinned under heavy fire, trying to call in for air support. Most of the infantry had backed up, retreated a little bit, but being that I was on the radio, trying to call in for air support, I had to stay put. And the antenna that I have to hold up is really a target for the Taliban. They know that when someone's holding an antenna up, that's the guy calling for air support. So the gunfire got closer and closer and closer. And for about 15 minutes, I was pinned under heavy gunfire, bullets moving within inches of my head, skipping by my feet. And that day changed my life forever because when I woke up the next morning alive, I realized that life is a lot more valuable than I had given it. That like it's so precious, and that at any moment it can be taken from you. And that was the closest I'd ever been to losing my life. And I just walked away there knowing that God had something for me, because in a moment that I should have been killed with thousands of bullets raining in past my face, I didn't understand how I was still alive. Like I had a military chapter of my life where I was really fueled by the success. Like I wanted to go get in gunfights. I liked the chaos, and I was driven by the chaos, and I was driven by being the best I could be in the military. And then there hit a point where I was like, oh, it's not really for me anymore. Like there's a higher calling. And so I flipped the switch, and then I became a full-time entrepreneur. And in 2018, my business had crawled from doing, $150,000 a year to $250,000 a year to quickly in 2019 doing almost 5 million, just over 4 million. Once you start to get a little bit of money or start to get followers, you'll start to recognize those patterns, and you go, wow. And I was like 32, 33 when I started realizing this stuff. And I'm like, man, the things that I was fulfilled by in the world were very prideful things. And it's just trouble. It doesn't lead you think that those things are gonna lead to happiness, money, success, fame, but really those are probably the most unfulfilling things. It was a battle every day, man. Like I was a military guy. So as a man who never surrenders to anything in my life, that was the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life, was surrender to God every day. But there was this release. Over time, there became this release of the pressure was off of me. The stress was off of me. When I almost killed myself a year and a half ago, the reason that I did is because the burden and the weight was so heavy on myself that I didn't feel like I could fight it anymore. There becomes a point where you go, I don't know if I can carry this anymore.
When you were, we don't have to talk about this, but when you were on like the verge of committing suicide, ideally, like what made you want to stay?
There was 2 things. I couldn't imagine my kids growing up without a dad. Like that hurt me more than anything. The second thing would be that in a moment that I needed faith, it showed up at my doorstep. You know what I mean? Like when you want to end your own life, it's because you have no faith left. There's no faith. You think that the world's against you, you think the world's collapsed on you, and that there's nothing left to save you. But as I was driving to Austin to end my life, I kept seeing my kids, and I'm like, man, like the pain I would put them through by them not having a dad would be, I couldn't do that to someone. You know what I mean? That's like, they got a whole life in front of them. And like one of the biggest problems we have is like absent fathers. So like my kids, like my precious little kids would have to grow up and not know their dad. That's like one of the worst things I could do to anybody. That's like, for me, I realized the selfishness of that. Like, bro, you better pull your shit together because there's people that are relying on you. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Good to see you, boy.
Good to see you.
So first of all, 400 calories on that fucking assault bike. You guys are crazy.
It was his idea. I was like, no. He's like, we're gonna lock ourselves in this garage and we're gonna burn 1,000 calories amongst the two of us. And I'm like,
she's like, I'm not interested. I'm like, come on.
No,
It'd be like a Saturday morning thing. We'll lock ourselves in the garage.
150.
We don't leave until we hit 1,000 calories. She's like, no. I'm like, damn.
He's
You hit 400.
Yeah. I'll do it again soon too. If I ask you the question, would you recommend yourself as a father? Would you recommend yourself as a husband? Would you recommend yourself as a wife? Like, would you be willing to stand up for the person that you are and say, this person is 100% it, right? And so a lot of people can't answer that truthfully, yes. Mm-hmm. So in that too is the question is, would you recommend yourself as a leader? Would you follow yourself? You always got to go back to the foundation of you got to be able to lead yourself first, and that's all based upon your behaviors, your disciplines, what you do every single day. Like, would you trust yourself as a leader? Shit's hard, man. But life's hard. You have to choose your heart. Like, do I want this hard, or do I want the heart of laying in a hospital bed because I didn't take care of my body? Do I want the heart of being broke, not able to pay my bills, or the heart of chasing a pursuit of excellence, having a better financial outlook for my family? Like, you choose your heart, man. It's all hard. I know which heart I choose. And it's not gonna be one and be suffering or sulking in my own sorrows, man. It's not gonna be me.